Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko, man. Okay, so
We normally don't text during the fights.
we normally don't, but this fight was amazing.
Yeah,
Now,
it was really good.
going into this one too, right? I had some folks over last night, and we were talking about Shevchenko and Grasso, and I said the thing that worries me about Shevchenko is that she has all the different tools in her arsenal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as of late, she's had a couple rough goes where I feel like she's
Specifically
in
the
this
Santos
mode.
fight.
Yeah, but I feel like she's in this mode where whatever the other person's bringing, like she has to beat them at their
Mm-hmm.
own game. And I don't know if it's like a personal
Mm-hmm.
thing where she wants to prove to herself that she's the best in every type of mixed martial art or in every
Mm-hmm.
type of martial art. So I was a little concerned going into this that she would try to outbox
Just
Alexa
boxer.
Grasso.
Mm-hmm.
And while I don't think that she tried to outbox her the entire night, I do think that she could have done a better job of staying away from Grasso's range. I would have liked to see Shevchenko use her kicks a lot more. Maybe a front kick to just continue maintaining the distance. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
a couple of head kicks, which we saw a couple of them, but I think it was too often where she was just in the perfect range of Grasso's lead hook, like you see right here.
Well, so Grasso, in that first round, so they open up, and I was texting you, and George texted us and was like, dude, if Grasso wins, I might cry. And dude, at that moment, she was walking out, fucking hype walkout. The music was great. Her demeanor was great. I was like, oh my God. Like, if she could pull this off, like, that's what immediately was going through my mind during the walkout. I was like, if she could pull it off, this is going to be so sick. And then George texts, if she wins, I might cry. I'm like, oh my God, George is reading my mind. And then, and the fight happens. And I was saying, like, you can't just go at Shevchenko. You can't just blitz her because that's what she wants. You have to like make her uncomfortable. You have to freeze her because she doesn't like to go first. Like once she goes, if you don't let her counter strike you, she like forces these clinch exchanges, and her entries aren't very good to close the gap if it's not shooting under, because even her takedowns are counters.
Mhm. Yep.
She'll counter your striking to get her takedowns, but when she initiates the clinch, it's very awkward, and that's how Santos was able to capitalize on her so much, because Santos would just stop. And she's like, I'm not going to play your game. Come to me. And then that's when Shevchenko was starting to like try to force things, and it was really working for Santos. And I was like, that's what Grasso needs to do. And instead, Grasso was like, I'm coming out southpaw. I'm going to toss this jab as a rangefinder, use my feet underneath it to get to you, and then just hit you with this left hand. And she cracked her at like 2 minutes into the fight. She cracked Shevchenko, and I think everything changed at that moment, because
Mhm.
from that moment, Shevchenko was like, "Oh shit, I can normally counter that before that lands. Let's change things." And then she started getting those takedowns, and I was like, "Oh man!" But then even the takedowns, she would get them, and she got the crucifix on Grasso. Grasso did a great job of putting her head on the other side of Shevchenko's head in the crucifix, so she couldn't land the elbows that she normally does. Uh, and Grasso's defensive grappling was on point. Her takedown defense, not so much, but her defensive grappling was really good, and she was able to avoid all the damage that Shevchenko was doing, and even got a stand up in guard, which I thought was a good stand up. The broadcast team hated it. What did you think about the stand up?
I mean, all night I feel like there was an emphasis on separating or standing up all
Mm-hmm.
night, and it wasn't just this fight.
No.
Considering the fact that it was consistent throughout the night, I'm fine with it. It would have been different for me if it was
Mm-hmm.
just that one time where I would have
One
been like,
stand up,
hey, yeah, yeah, yeah. But they were
but
consistent
also
with it the entire night. They were pushing for the action.
yeah, but also I feel like you should get stood up. And I'm not a Shevchenko hater. I think she's incredible. I think she's arguably better than Nunes. Um, as far as like women's goat, right? But you shouldn't be able to take someone down and sit in their closed guard with your head in their chest for over 2 minutes. You shouldn't be able
Yeah.
to do that. You should at least threaten to pass. You should at least threaten with a posture up and strikes. It's stalling, and stalling it's against the rules, you know. So I think that should be enforced more. And I thought it was a good stand up.
Yeah, man. And yeah, Shevchenko
I'm not
came
doing the
in,
pictures
continued
again.
coming in with like this the like Muay Thai stance with like her hands up with kind of like a little high guard. and she would
Yeah.
bounce up and down, and then she would stop. There was these awkward exchanges or awkward moments where she would stop, and then, like you said, Grasso would wait, and she'd kind of just head bob in the back, and then Valentina would take a step back and then bounce forward again and do the exact same thing. I'm like,
Mhm.
what's going on here? It's like a little chess match right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And
and
go ahead.
as you see the picture here, Shevchenko did a good job of timing that
Mhm.
takedown that she did get, right, coming underneath one of Grasso's punches.
Mhm.
Uh, Overall, for the night, I was just so impressed with Grasso
Mhm.
and how patient and how calm she was throughout the entire night, considering that she's fighting arguably one of the best to ever do it in women's MMA.
Yeah,
But
and to win the
she was
first
so
round like that.
poised.
To win the first round and not get overexcited and like, "Whoa, I just took the first round off Shevchenko," and going into that second round and getting, like, an adrenaline dump or something. Yeah, super
She
calm,
acted
super
like she had been
collected.
there before.
Yeah, and I see a lot of this, and the same thing people trying to say not people trying to say that Cyril Gane lost that fight, John didn't win it. A lot of people are saying, "Yeah, Father Time catches up to you with Shevchenko." I don't think this is that. I don't think this is that at all. People are like, "Yeah, her last fight wasn't dominant like the last ones." Like, I think she's getting older. You know what I mean? I don't think she's getting older. I mean, she is, right? Everybody's getting older, but I don't.
34.
She's 34. She's still in fantastic shape. Her technique still looks flawless. She's still seeing the shots. She's countering with takedowns. She's countering with her kicks, things like that. The difference is there's just more footage of her available. People are starting to figure
Yeah.
out what makes her so good. That's what happens. People start eventually creeping closer and closer and closer and figuring you out. This is not Shevchenko slowing down. This is just Grasso with a good game plan. That's all it was. Same thing with Santos. It was just two fighters who were good, had good game plans, of fighters who they could watch unlimited tape on, who fights very similar in all of her fights. Like that's what happens. There's a constant meme about Shevchenko about how many times she throws spinning kicks when she's either way out of range and it's never going to land, or when she's way too close and it's never going to land. It's Jack Slacker even talked about it. He's like, I was going to post it, but I never did. He made a montage of all of her spinning attack that miss because she constantly does that. And
Grasso
Grasso
said
even
she was
said,
waiting for it.
Yeah, and it's one thing to wait for it, know it's a thing, recognize it, but it's another thing to be able to capitalize on it. And people are saying, "Oh, Valentina Weidman'd herself." No, this is something that she always does. It wasn't something that she threw random. Because remember, Weidman threw the spinning kick
Yeah,
against
yeah, against
Rockhold and
Rockhold.
got taken down, and then was never the same after that. But that's not what this was. Shevchenko's always done that. It's not like Weidman does that in every fight. Shevchenko always does that in all her fights, but people are either too far out or aren't able to capitalize it on when they crowd it, because that's what you want to do, right? You want to crowd a spinning attack, um, but they can't capitalize on it. Grasso could. She took her back immediately, got the choke in. This is not Shevchenko slowing down. I'm very interested in a rematch. Uh, this is Grasso just with a fantastic game plan and staying poised, and same thing with John Jones, seizing the opportunity that was presented to them. You know,
And they have to give her a rematch, right? Like right
I'm
away.
not I'm not huge on immediate rematches for champions. I think it's kind of bullshit that you have to beat the champ twice to get the belt. But there are exceptions to that, and the exceptions are when people have a long line of title defenses. Right? Anderson Silva deserved one. Mighty Mouse deserved one. Uh, John Jones, if he lost the belt, would deserve it. Um, GSP deserves it. Shevchenko deserves an immediate rematch. It's not
Yeah,
something I
and
normally like, but she deserves it.
I heard the broadcasting mention Aaron Blanchfield.
Hmm.
And look, even if they start mixing in these other fighters, it makes the division a little more exciting. Didn't
Hmm.
Valentina also say something like that too?
Yeah, well, she said like Blanchfield is like trash. Basically, she was like it was
What?
pretty gnarly what she said about it. But
What'd she
but
say?
I don't remember everything, but she was basically saying like she's nothing, like she's like not even on her radar. Just like okay,
Damn.
but all of a sudden we have Shevchenko, Grasso, Santos, Blanchfield. That's a nice little mix at the top of a division. It's not a bad
Yeah,
top five.
for sure, for sure. And you definitely see those some separation after those names. And we
Yeah,
with the pictures we share, a lot of times we'll see like swinging and closing their eyes or ducking. And that picture where Grasso's landing the shot on Shevchenko, look at where our eyes
eyes on
are.
the target. Eyes on the
Right
target.
on the target, man. And where they land, right on the chin, dude.
Yeah, it was a nice punch, and she clipped her a couple times after that too. Like right after that,
Yep.
good fight,
And
man. This was
that
great.
that picture of Grasso on her coach's shoulders, and like in disbelief still of what had happened. Such an awesome shot, man.
Yeah,
And
dude, he was
this
like
gives
sobbing
us,
too,
yeah, it was such a cool moment. A third Mexican-born champion right now, if you count Yair Rodriguez,
and
and
you should.
in Grasso, first female Mexican-born champion in the UFC. So props to
Dude,
Grasso, man, in the record books.
yeah, I wish Yair was here for this because do
Oh,
you
he would have
remember
been going nuts.
When Moreno got the belt back?
He might have knocked somebody
There's a
out next to him.
yeah, that dude that's next to him was like, chill out, man.
Yeah, he's
He's
like,
like
"Hey, calm down."
jumping up and down. So funny. Yeah, he would have
Moreno
been
looked
going
pretty pumped
crazy.
though.
Moreno, I think, looked pumped after the camera got on because he's trained a lot with Shevchenko. I think he was also like,
Oh,
just watch my
dang.
homie lose her
You
belt.
think so?
I think so,
Oh man,
which is
he's
fine.
torn.
I think he's torn.
Do I back up a nation or
Yeah,
my training partner? Yeah,
yeah,
that's messed up.
exactly.
All right, man.
Huh.
We can move on to the next one.